Do you want me to go ahead and start or wait a few more seconds?
Let's go ahead and wait till 10, but yeah, that'll be just a few seconds, just in case we have any folks coming right at 10 o'clock.
Sounds good.
All right, you can begin.
All right. I'm Justin Carr. I am a CRT major. I'm also on the baseball team. We are currently in Kentucky, which is why I can't be there this today. Um, I have a CRT major. I am a business administration and entrepreneurship minor. I declared for as a creative technology major during my sophomore year. I was a formerly dual degree engineer. I took a Calc 1 class and physics class at the same time, and it did not go very well for me. But Dr. Grout was my advisor, and in my spring semester of my freshman year, I took a CRT 101 class, which I really enjoyed. Sadly, we got kicked off campus because of COVID, so half of my projects were at home, and I had to create those with the tools that I had in my house. So the theme for my presentation is leveraging data to optimize campus environments and athletic performance. And I have three projects that fit that, and then my capstone project, which also fits that theme. My first project was actually an internship that I did my uh, the summer between my junior and senior semester at Pinnacle Prospects. And then two other projects that I have is the CRT 399 particle study that I did as a group project, and then the a rehab calendar, which is a website that generates a rehab program for baseball athletes in specific. And then my capstone project is called D Hall Diaries, and I will get into that towards the end of the presentation. So my Pinnacle Prospects internship, it was a 3-month internship where I tracked athlete performance, characteristics, and development over the 3 months. Um, the goal of my internship was to find any correlations between throwing velocity and physical characteristics or performances of the athletes. Uh, then um, and so I don't know how well it's showing up on your screen, but on the left is a uh, graph that shows the throwing velocities of athletes uh, that were at Pinnacle during the summer I was there. I tracked about between 30 and 40 athletes. And then on the right side of that graph is their ending velocity and several characteristics of athletes that we would track or height, weight, uh, body fat percentages, um, flexibility and mobility, specifically in the upper half, like shoulder areas, but also mobility in their hips. And the graph on the right is just one of them that I was used, or one of the graphs that I created. It shows the correlation between throwing velocity and body fat percentage. And it shows that people with the lower body fat percentages tend to throw harder, at least for what we noticed that summer. And I did use an Excel spreadsheet to track all this information. The next is the moon building particle study. I did this as a group project for the 399 class, and we wanted to analyze the air quality in the moon building. One of my group mates for the project did often work in the moon building, and she stated that oftentimes when they're mixing like glazes and powders, the dust from that goes into the air, and they are required to wear a mask when they are doing this. So we used a Arduino and a particle sensor to record particulate levels. For a two-week span, we condensed our data to fit the study because we had several technical issues that we had to work through. But the graph that you see in front of you is the particle levels that we recorded. The Arduino would send the particle levels to a MySQL database where we used PHP and HTML to automatically upload the data to a website on the graph so we could see live tracking of the particles that were recorded. And then we would try and figure out what's going on at certain times with spikes since we were able to see live data. The orange line that you see is the unhealthy particulate level for sensitive groups. So you can see that we only went above this twice during the whole study, and it was for a very brief period of time, which helped us conclude that the particle levels in the moon building are safe, but we do recommend wearing masks because of the spikes, which we correlated to just student activity in the building, and specifically cleaning crews. When they would come in, they would stir up a lot of dust. We noticed that several times with the spikes. My third project is a UCL rehab calendar generator. As a baseball player, I did tear my UCL in my elbow. Your UCL is your ulnar collateral ligament. I had surgery back in October, and one of the hardest things for me during the rehab program was figuring out what days I'm supposed to do my hitting and throwing rehab programs, especially since they start 10 weeks after surgery, and they're very long rehab programs, so it's hard to keep track of them. So the website, I created this during my exit hackathon. Athletes are able to input their date of surgery right there in the middle. And then the website will provide them with a week by week schedule of their hitting and throwing programs with the specific steps for each day. This is specific to the surgery I had. There are two types of UCL surgeries. The surgery I had is much shorter. It was about a 5 to 6 month recovery, but the other one can be up to a year to a year and a half recovery time. So this one it only goes for about 6 weeks, but these rehab programs start 10 weeks after surgery. So that was the reason why I created this, was just to help me figure out when I need to do things and not get ahead of myself, but also not get too far behind. And so my capstone project is called D-Hall Diaries. It is an advocacy pathway capstone project. The intent of this project was to advocate that Barry needs more dining venues on campus, or more appealing ones to students. I used 15 students on campus. They were spread across all academic levels, genders. I have all 5 meal plans from these participants, and they used this. This is a picture of the website that I created for them to record when they ate, where they ate on campus, off campus, or if they skipped a meal. And then they would include the specific location of where they ate. And then below this, you can't see, but they had a list of options for them to select of why they ate there or why they skipped a meal. All of this data would be uploaded to a MySQL database. And then I used PHP and HTML and Bootstrap to create this website, but also the website where I analyzed the inputs and recordings from the study. So a little bit on my website where I displayed all the data, I had several pages, including a homepage and participants demographic. The homepage just goes over the brief description of what the study did and what its intent was. The next page was the participants' demographics. I showed a little bit of information about the 15 students without giving their names, but I included academic level, layout, meal plan percentages, like which meal plans were included, and at what levels they were. And then the locations. Um, I had three study questions for this project. One revolving the locations of where students ate. The next one was involving their major and which schools of influence meal plan locations and where students eat. The final question was which meal plans cause students to eat off campus or in their dorms the most. And then the last few are some additional comparisons that I wasn't able to specifically identify in my three questions. And then I have a conclusions page to tie it all together and answer the three study questions. So the homepage and participants page just states that there was a 30-day study. It went from March 15th to February 15th to March 22nd. The extra week is for spring break. I did not have students record meals during that week. And then this, as you can see on the graph on the right, I have the meal percentages and then the school representation to help show that there's not, I tried to, the graphs are to help show how I tried to create as little bias in the study as possible. I tried to create an accurate representation of what Barry looks like through my 15 participants. And so for my first study question, it was where do students eat the most off campus, or where do students eat or get the most of their meals and why? The graphs that you see, the one on the left, it shows the top 10 visited locations for off campus, which I noticed McDonald's is a very popular location. And one of the graphs on the right towards the bottom, it shows why students ate there, which the majority of their responses was that they were joining friends. And but a very closely followed up response was that Barry's dining services were not open. So this shows that it is a very popular late night location for students. McDonald's is much more popular than Cookout and Taco Bell for late night responses as well. This is probably due to how fast McDonald's is at night preparing the meals. And then, so my second study question was, does a student's major influence how often they eat off campus? And then I have the four schools that listed on the right. And then for this page, I included four graphs showing where students ate on campus, off campus, and or if they ate in their dorms and at what levels they did for each of the four schools. I also created two more graphs, one displaying the times that each major is most likely to eat at. I did it in 3-hour increments. And that graph was just intended to try and figure out if there were any schools that did not eat at normal times. And then, so for the final question, I'd said, what meal plan causes students to eat off campus or in their dorms the most? The 5 meal plans are listed on the right. And the graph that you see on the left shows the Flexbox meal plan percentages. So you can see about half of their meals come from off campus. And then about another third of their meals come from dorm locations. And then the graph on the bottom shows where students with the Flexbox meal plan eat a lot. It doesn't show, I couldn't include the whole graph, but the next is my genders and more comparisons page. I was able to identify another category specific to males and females in the study. And I found that males eat are about 2 times more likely to eat on campus compared to females, but females are about 3 times more likely to eat in their dorms. In addition, I was also able to create 4 separate graphs on academic levels, um, which I noticed a trend of as students increase in their academic levels, they tend to move away from on-campus locations and increasingly into dorm and off-campus meals. And so for my conclusions, students eat the most at D Hall in their dorms and McDonald's. There were several uh, other things that I noticed, such as students were 7 times more likely to go eat at the off-campus Starbucks rather than the one that is located in Cranert. A recommendation that I had in this study is that Barry expand the menu for the on-campus Starbucks to try and help create more appealing locations because of this. For the majors, I did not see any clear influence on meal locations. Each major had about half of the meals coming from off-campus locations. That did vary depending on each school. And then the Flexbus meal plan was by far the most it was by far the meal plan that caused students to eat off campus the most. And I recommended that Barry possibly expand the amount of Flexbus students get each semester because they receive about 80% of their meals from non-Barry sponsored locations. And so for my next steps after graduation, I have been applying to website development jobs. I have not received any feedback yet or heard anything back from any job employers. And then I'm also possibly considering pursuing an MBA while I try and play a 5th year of baseball. And I am going to be applying to UAB, KSU, UNG, and Sanford. And that is the end of my study.
Thank you, Justin.